and welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Rauchenwald, on this Wednesday afternoon. I hope you all had a successful trading week so far. As always, before we jump into the markets, first of all, don't forget like, subscribe, enable notifications. And second of all, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way. Everything that I share during this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using during this live stream, so the broker, the charting software, the strategy I'm following, and so on, are all linked in the video description down below. And the one thing I truly recommend, if you haven't done so, is check out the Elliott Wave principle, which you can read online for free when you are using the link that's down below. With that said, we can jump into my portfolio, and we'll see that we have a slightly or a break-even start with a slight red touch into the day. Nothing changed in the portfolio. We still hold 600 GameStop shares, against which we sold 6 covered calls, and we have a bunch of other positions. And yeah, so in different stocks like Grab, Novavax, Barnes & Noble Education Inc., Immersion, COS, and NEO, and that's pretty much are the relevant ones that are not in quotes waiting for a Hail Mary. With that, we can jump to the chart. Since GameStop is our biggest position, we're going to start here. Already a couple of days ago, I pointed out that once we break that so-called acceleration channel, we're going to be in our fourth wave, according to Elliott Wave principle or the Elliott Wave Theory, based on Kennedy channeling technique. And we can, with the naked eye, it's really so nice to see here, we have wave 1, wave 2, and then based on this wave 1, we have an extension, based on this wave 1 here, so the drop here is wave 1, wave 2, and based on the wave 1 extension, we see that we hit our usual wave 3 target at the 261.8 extension, which gives us wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Now we are in wave 4, which means today could be a little red still, or we already get that wave C, so wave 4 would subdivide potentially into A, B, and C, and then we still have to get our wave 5, which I expect will be around the 50% retracement, and that only will finish wave A. We don't have it on the chart, but if we add a correction here, we're basically expecting it to, oh, there is already some wave here. What do we have here? Let's zoom in 1 second, select this 4-hour chart. Maybe we already have it on the chart, 1-hour chart. No, we don't have it on the chart. Okay, so, but what we believe we're looking at, so back to the 8-hour chart, is as said, that we'll get wave A, wave B. Wave B doesn't have to go that high, and then wave C, as said, I expect wave C will top. I mean, there might be a spike through the 61.8 retracement, but I think that's where we will, in quotes, stop. Yeah, so which will then mark our wave 4 point. Yeah, now it's disappearing, so we're going to delete it because it's not visible on the chart. There, oh, now it's visible on the chart. Okay, so why do you disappear? Probably because we're in a too high time frame. And yeah, so in this wave A will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then wave 5. Again, somewhere here. And then we get our ABC. Doesn't have to go that high. It could stay lower. And then we get our wave C further down to finish probably around the 61.8% retracement level. Yeah, which is kind of nice to see that things are playing out exactly the way they should. For the covered calls that I'm holding, that means that they will decrease in value, and I could potentially buy them back here, but that might not be, I mean, might actually be the smart, an okay move. So if I try to catch the wave 5 bottom or top, actually, so bottom technically if we look at the bigger picture, but since it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it would be the top of wave 5. Because there the calls would be worth the least, and then sell the same calls or similar calls again once we have a visible wave B, and then again buy them back here. So that would be the perfect play, but it requires to be able to determine the wave 5 top and the end of wave B relatively well. So to pay as little as possible, buying them back here, get a decent amount more, selling them again here, especially the $30 calls if we were to have a wave B that strong, and then again buy them back as cheap as possible here. Now the alternative is I just hold them, which means they would lose in value, and if we were to go down till here, then we start our 5th wave that slowly develops, and we should by the 17th of January, when the options expire, still be below 30. if everything plays out according to plan, which means that they anyway will expire worthless, and without trying to time the market here in those movements, I would still pocket the entire premium while still keeping my shares, and we would in that time be in an upwards movement, again increasing the premium that we can earn for the next expiration date. Another chart that's where I actually have to make a correction, so and on the other hand works very nicely, is Bitcoin. So I mentioned recently there's a belief that we might not have the correction finished, that this might be only wave 1 or wave A, wave B, and we're now getting wave C. However, looking at it again, just have to modify this one here, yeah. So looking at it again, I actually believe that I might have been wrong with that assessment, so we will not retrace further, but we actually finished here, retracement. We actually finished at the 21.4 retracement level. So if you've been watching the stream for quite some time, you know that very often retracement will retrace to 38.2, 61.8, if not that, then to 50, and if not that, to 78.6, or least likely, but still possible, 21.4. Of course, there are also cases where we don't exactly turn around on any of those levels, but those are, in my experience, exactly in that order the most common levels, which means that's why I was expecting, okay, this might only be wave A, wave B, and we still get wave C down. However, it looks more likely now that we actually finished our retracement at the 21.4% level here. And with that, we're actually we can remove that ABC, and we're actually having our next wave 1, wave 2, and are currently seeing the beginning of wave 3. So that makes another 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm not sure how high we go in that area. We see it, however, very nicely when we zoom in closer. First of all, while we retrace pretty much exactly 21.4% in this corrective pattern, and can likely, it might not fit nicely. So, I mean, not always do we hit everything perfectly the way we want. Wave C. So we see we exceed our maximum target a little bit here, yeah, for the wave C move, if this is A, B, C. However, with the naked eye, this here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and not A, B, C, which means it's an impulsive wave. Additionally, with the naked eye, this here is A, B, C, and it retraces exactly plus minus $90, even less than $90, 61.8%, making this, as said, the next wave 1, wave 2, and we should now see 1, 2, maybe 1 not even finished yet, but so 1, 2, 3, and so on. So we should go up from here and finally break the 100,000 mark in Bitcoin as well. Now, so here I was partially wrong, have to admit it. Yeah, nobody's always right. And waiting for a further decline to the 38.6 retracement. As I mentioned, I thought we would reach the 100,000 mark, so based on this expansion, or maybe even go lower. But the way it looks right now, we actually have correction finished, wave 1, wave 2, and now we are in the process of forming wave 3. So there should be strong movement up in the next coming days. That's, yeah, without considering the bigger picture, that's just a smaller picture on the 4-hour chart. The bigger picture also supports the idea that there is another move further up. I just originally thought that this correction will play out a little bigger, yeah. Yeah, one other area where I was partially wrong is XYO. I shared it a couple days ago that I took profit at a 261 or 361 extension around here, which obviously missed out on a couple 100% return. In fact, we can see that we now bounced on the 661.8 extension level. So that's based on wave 1 again. And are now most likely going to see our breakout from our acceleration channel here. So that here is irrelevant because we exceeded our target area also a little bit. And yeah, so now we retraced 38.2% here. So theoretically, this correction could already be over. So one A, B, C. It's also possible, and it would maybe be even a perfect correction. Yeah, pretty much perfect. If we turn around here, it would be a perfect 3-wave A, B, C move, where wave C is identical in the price movement to wave A. The other option is that we obviously retrace a little bit further. However, as far as Kennedy channeling technique goes, we still would expect a breakout to the bottom. So it's also possible that this is only the beginning of some kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we correct a little further. Yeah, it's tricky. or actually it's not that tricky. If we consider the wave 1, 2 here, which retraced 61.8%, then we actually would expect that this is the end of the correction, and now we're getting our fifth wave push. Yeah, so however, Kennedy channeling technique would suggest that we are not yet, that we have not yet finished the wave 4, or not even have the confirmation that it started, because we didn't have the breakout from the base channel. Although it strongly looks like it, yeah. And as far as wave 5 is concerned, we would need a break through this trend line, deceleration trend line here, to have some kind of, yeah, not confirmation, but additional sign that we are indeed now in the fifth wave. Yeah. So in other words, there's still a lot of upside. So even if we were to retrace down to 61.8%, we can see that we would go down to 15 or 16, 1.5 or 1.6 cents per token. But then the minimum target for wave 5 would still be 4.4 cents, with the maximum target at 8.5 cents, or theoretical usual maximum target there. So there's also the 161.8 extension. So yeah, so while one could enter here already in XYO, there are some signs to it. This is a nice free wave move. As said, we retrace exactly 38.2%. I'm gonna listen to so I personally actually decided to jump into Bitcoin for now, because there the pattern seems clearer in terms of we go up and not as much risk down, because at most I would expect that we might fall here 10-15% to 85,000. 85 would be here, yeah. So if indeed my original assessment was correct of some kind of ABC move, whereas in XYO, if I'm wrong and I jump in right now, I would expect a 50% drop, or almost 50% drop still. So I'm going to stay out of this and hold my Bitcoin position for now until we have a confirmation that we are indeed in the fifth wave, and then I'll probably close the Bitcoin position, even if it is at a small loss at the time. But if I'm right, it should already be at some profit, and then we can jump in here for a potential couple 100% return as well. I'm not going to invest a fortune here. We're talking about a small or medium-sized 3-digit amount that I would throw in here. Yeah, or maybe a very, very small 4-digit amount. So depending on how the pattern looks. But yeah, so I have to admit I was wrong. I didn't expect that we will shoot that high, although I still made a profitable trade. So I called the top wrong, happens. However, now we have a nice indication that we indeed are in wave 4, and on the smaller time frame, we would have an indication that wave 4 might have already bottomed here, starting wave 5. Yeah, once we start that wave 5, however, we'll have to revisit the previous labeling to determine if this is indeed the last wave here, and we then will see a bigger correction, or if this was just a subwave that still has further impulsive waves following. Yeah, so much about that. So as I said, GameStop, we covered what we expect, Bitcoin, XYO, Barnes & Noble Education Inc., unchanged, creeping up a little bit, and then dropping down a little bit. So, but overall, it looks like we're indeed getting another wave up. As mentioned before, not 100% sure about this pattern here. So if this is wave, I mean, that has to be wave 1, 2, but could that be already wave 3, 4, and then we get wave 5? So this would need to be then an ending diagonal, which wouldn't matter much because it would still point towards upwards. And if I'm wrong, however, as I pointed out, then this would be ABC followed by ABC followed by A, B, and C, and we would go a little lower. But after that, we should still get a push up now. So from my position, I will hold it. I would consider closing it if we break $6 or at $6 or $5, which means a 40% loss. But again, I don't hold a lot of shares, so it's also, you can see it would be like $200 risk at most if I close it here. Probably I would consider closing it if we break the 728, so the 78.6 retracement level. So at $140, $160 loss, something like that, if that were to happen. But currently it still points towards further upward movement. Now, if it's still a good time to enter or not, that's up for you to decide. Personally, I'm quite happy with calling the several bottoms here and entering accordingly, even though I originally called it wrong. And that's why our average is a little higher here, with an entry somewhere in that downward movement, if I recall it correctly. Yeah, so that's there. Grab on the weekly chart, nothing happens. We're just waiting. So immersion seems to have some upwards movement, but we still need more upward movement. We actually are going to, did we already go higher? Here we had 946, and here we had 940. Okay, we didn't break that yet, so we're going to add a horizontal line. The next thing we would want to see breaking is this level here, 946, to have some kind of additional confirmation that indeed we bottomed out here with an ABC correction, and provide us with the basically foundation to confirm that we might indeed have the next five waves up. Again, here we also, as you can see, we don't hold a huge position, so but it should still pay off or hopefully bring us a profit. Costs unchanged. We're waiting for a break of either bottom here or top here to confirm correction over or correction not over. NEO, NEO, once we break the high here, we're also going to add a horizontal line here. I know it gets chaotic. We are relatively certain then that we have finished the last missing wave here in the correction and are now going to see the next 5 waves up. Profit targets, as we can see, based on that, would be between 670 and 889. I'm going to check. So they need to be updated. So 6.70 and, or actually I can leave them. So originally from the 20th of November, so 2 weeks ago, the prediction was 681, 904. So basically because there we had the low here and assumed that it's possible that the correction is finished, but visually that still a 5th wave is missing. And Novavax, yeah, so we need the breakout from this channel in order to have any kind of chance for my call options that expire here to be salvageable or become salvageable. And we definitely need some strong days in between. It's highly unlikely that they will become profitable, but salvageable in terms of not having a $250 loss, but instead like closing them for a smaller loss. Definitely possible. Visually, it might be that we have 5 waves up here, A, B, C, and are now indeed forming the next impulse up, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And with that, we can move on. Do we have any strong moves? Crowd asset, I believe, is going down further. So, I mean, after earnings, so short term, I was definitely right. And listening to my prediction would have brought an almost 10% profit on shorting it. DJT, we're still waiting. I mean, it's slowly moving up. Target areas are quite high, but I don't have a horse in the race, so it doesn't matter. Fossil, I don't remember. Yeah, we actually don't break nicely on one of the usual extension levels, so I think there's still a push up to come, considering that we don't bounce at the 2618, but we shot through, at least on the 12-hour chart. Front line, yeah, I mean, that already played out exactly the way I said it would. So based on, actually here before the earnings, I discovered that one and published a short on the YouTube channel about my forecast. And then just hours later, this happened. Intel is now actually broke the 61.8 retracement. And yeah, there I pointed out that I don't want to make a definitive prediction based on having been right with the bottom and then the top here in one single candle. But yeah, I would start worrying if we break 2181. Until then, I still consider this a possible, just regular corrective move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 1, 2, then we would, tricky, unless that's a 3-wave move here, yeah, so, yeah, but even then tricky, so that's not a nice part here to label, so, yeah, I'm not gonna make a prediction here, so we're gonna stay out and watch. NVIDIA, there we have part of the retracement done. Visually on the daily chart, it looks like we still should get another push down, which depending on how high we go up first. So if we consider a 3-wave corrective move, so then we can see that we would expect at least the 38.2 retracement based on the current high, potentially the 50% retracement. So RTX, I don't remember. Yeah, there we broke through, so yeah, that's already history. So Question is how far we go. Yeah, there I recall. Yeah, so we said that basically based on the overlap of the target areas, anywhere between 69 and 55 might be an interesting entry, but visually also here we have 1, 2, 3, should get wave 4 and wave 5. So I would wait for a small correction up and then another push down before I would enter. That's on the weekly chart here, and that's trying to call or to catch the bottom. Probably 57 might mark a good point, 57.89, which is the 78.6 retracement level. So that might be a good entry point for taking the gamble. It comes down to be a gamble to try to determine is this indeed a finished correction or not. SMCI, yeah, is still within the range for a wave C. I think if it tops here, it would be a perfect A, B, C move, because we really have identical wave A and wave C then, which means from here we might finally get to see the next 5 waves down. My target's here in the $5 area. So originally we already hit my target, the first target that I shared on the 1st of November. So not according to my notes, might have shared it earlier, but somewhere here I already pointed out that my target is 1838 and we hit 1736 and here we hit 1725. So called that quite well. And now we get our corrective wave up. And in my opinion, we then get, and might not be finished, might be a bigger move up or so, but eventually my target for this stock is $5.68. Yeah, so a lot of downside. Actually, what's that? 90% downside. But yeah, risk reward ratio and all of my capital is tied up in other positions, so we don't get to participate in that one for now. And yeah, those are the usual things. We still haven't had time to label SPY and NASDAQ and so on, although my NASDAQ target is actually bullish with, what was it, 24,000 or so. I think on the NDX we might have something. No, on the NDX we don't have. Oh, yeah, there we have it. Yeah, so, or actually even higher here. So on the rough labeling that we still have on the chart. Yeah, but don't nail me down on that. We still have to relabel after I mistakenly deleted all my forecasts by deleting a chart and then saving. Yeah, but so what's interesting as so often is we're just going to keep an eye on GameStop to see how it plays out. Again, I expect this to potentially turn into A, B, C. So maybe not today, but tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. So then Friday we get some push up. Then on the 10th, there's going to be the earnings, which might then be the five push down, and we get a recovery, then we get another 5 waves down. And yeah, so that's going to be interesting to watch. Bitcoin is going to be interesting to watch because if I'm right, we are now set in a third wave, which means we would expect very, very strong upward movement over the next couple of days and weeks. And XYO is going to be interesting to see if the correction mark is actually really over here and we missed out on entering here, or if we will just get a bigger correction and then a better entry. Either way, once it becomes clear that we have finished the correction, it might be worth entering because there's a couple 100% upside here for the 5th wave, even to the minimum target, yeah, or at least from now to the minimum target, it's 100% still. Yeah, and I think with that, we're gonna call it a day. If you have any specific questions, obviously you can ask them in the chat. You can join our Discord community and ask them there. And outside of that, just want to remind you, like, subscribe, enable notifications, and then see you all again tomorrow. So let's switch there. Like, subscribe, enable notifications, as said, and then see you all tomorrow for another episode of Daily Market Mastery, roughly 5 minutes before the markets open. Thank you for watching. See you then. Bye-bye.